What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 255 of Two Amazon Sellers and a Microphone, brought to you by Solozo. And today we're talking about sort of the holy grail, how to make Amazon
like everything.
Yeah. How to make it less stressful selling on Amazon and more profitable. Who doesn't like that? And today we're excited to bring on Laura Meyer, the CEO of Envision Horizons. How are you, Laura?
I'm great. How's everyone else doing?
We are fantastic.
Hanging in there.
Yes. Beginning of the week and cranking through, but excited to talk about this. I know you've helped a lot of clients and brands. You've got some insider knowledge of Amazon we could talk about, but you've helped brands really scale and get over the stress points and get into the profitability. And so we're excited just to dive in and just talk about what that process is like. I know a lot of people listening are interested, but let's turn it over to you, Laura, just to get started. Would love to hear more about your background and just how you got involved in this crazy e-commerce space that we're all in.
It is a wild west, very much so. But I think that's what makes it so exciting, right? Is the area of the digital world that we operate in. It's so dynamic. It's always changing. And Amazon certainly keeps us all on our toes at all points.
Yes.
But yeah, so my journey was, I worked for Amazon Corporate. I worked for AMG, or Amazon Media Group, back when it was still called that. And the concept for Envision Horizons really originated during my time there because I was selling their media solutions back when DSP was actually called AAP, and paid search, you could still buy clicks for 10 cents, the good old days.
Yeah, I remember those
good old days.
Yeah.
And, my biggest complaint or objection when selling in Amazon's media solutions was, hey, this sounds great, but my retail's a mess and I can't spend $1 till this, and this is fixed. And that's when the light bulb went off. So in 2017, I founded Envision Horizons with the mission statement of making selling on Amazon less stressful and more profitable, and really helping businesses with not just the advertising, even though that's, of course, a very important component, but also really with the strategic planning that should go into the Amazon channel and approaching it from a full service component, because everything is so interconnected. And if you don't have inventory, nothing else matters. If you don't have great creative, you're going to spend a lot of money on advertising with not great conversion rates. And, the domino effect can go in many ways.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that time at Amazon. That seems, we don't really get a lot of people on the podcast that have actually been at Amazon. I've worked for Amazon. First, how did you find that position, and what did that come about, and what was it like?
Yeah, so I had a very, very positive experience working for Amazon. So I started at Amazon very young in my career. It was actually, so my backstory is I graduated college. I moved to New York City with a one-way ticket without a job from the Midwest. Like no backfall. My parents were like, what the heck are you doing? And I just found this business development internship because growing up in the Midwest, going to the college in the Midwest, all of the recruiters that would come to my university were for jobs in the Midwest. And I was determined to break the mold, right? So I was just risk taker, I guess, naturally, just let's go to New York, figure it out. And I had this summer internship as kind of my buffer to really network and find a salaried full-time position. And so I was very grateful for that internship because it forced me to learn how to network even more as a 22-year-old in a city that I literally knew one or two other people. And I found the job at Amazon just scrolling LinkedIn. I applied online, but I took that extra step further where I found a woman who I had one or two mutual connections with. And I sent her a LinkedIn note being like, hey, I noticed you work at Amazon Media Group. I just applied there. Would you be willing to have coffee or take a quick call with me? I'd love to learn about your experience. She took the call with me. Her name's Nina Desi. Like, I still stay in touch with her to this day, seeing her at Unbox next week. And anyways, so she took the call, I guess was impressed or liked me, or was incentivized by Amazon's employee referral fee. Who knows which it is. But she then referred me internally. I got the interview and then I was hired. But because I was still quite junior in my career at that point, I was a part of a really special program that Amazon had created for basically like their development program. I'm blanking on the name of my title at the point, but I was like an associate account executive or something. So what was amazing was I had 6 months of intense Amazon training from Amazon. And with this training, not only was I learning the ins and outs of the media world and programmatic display and all of these things I should have learned in my marketing classes in college, but I also had to learn the retail side because that is so fundamental to Amazon. And I actually had to, like everyone a part of my program, we had to take these online courses, kind of similar now how you can get the Amazon ad certifications. Those were basically internal quizzes that I had to take back in 2015. But then they also had the retail version of them too. So I joke that I basically got like a Amazon MBA as a part or like as the start of my career.
You were with Amazon during like the Wild Wild West on the seller side. Like as a seller during then, I mean, you could do almost anything and rank a product. So that was like probably a crazy time. When did you realize, like, because for me, I didn't realize you could actually sell on Amazon until I got down the rabbit hole and found out like, oh my gosh, you can actually sell on Amazon. Did you know ahead of time that there was actually people selling on Amazon, or was it just like bookstore, or what was your experience there?
What's interesting is I mostly just knew of Vendor Central when I worked at Amazon. That I knew that there was this third-party marketplace, but the prospects at that point that I was trying to sell into for Amazon's media was mostly vendors, right? And I actually learned so much more about the Seller Central world after I left. And what I had done was simultaneously with the launch of my agency, I actually started my own brand on Amazon because the logistics and the operations, those were all things that I didn't have experience in. And, I remember listening to podcasts like the AM PM podcast back in like the early Manny Coates days, right?
Yes.
Or like the Amazing Seller. Like those were great podcasts in the early days. And that's like, thanks to those podcasts, I self-taught myself to go on to Alibaba and Source. And, I did the whole kind of like private label rodeo, as many of us did. And still to this day, I have my men's undershirt brand that I sell on Amazon.
That's awesome.
So you're in apparel niche, right? Is that where we're going here? So we're kind of fast forward here real quick, and we'll kind of hop around here. But apparel is like one of those categories that people are like, don't get in apparel. The returns are crazy. People always buy and they return so many. What's your experience been like?
Well, for me, and by the way, I also have apparel and footwear clients, and the return rates can be crazy, but it's about, and this goes back to the profitability strategy and what we work with our clients on, is it's about curating the right catalog. So I can be transparent with the data with my undershirt brand. My return rate is only 8%, or it ranges from 7 to 8%. It obviously goes up during the holiday season because Amazon opens up the return window, which is annoying. But and the reason is because you think of consumer habits with an undershirt. First of all, I only have small, medium, large, extra large, so forth. So most men know if they're a larger, an extra large or medium or whatever. So that right there is going to limit the return rate. Where if you're selling, let's say, women's dresses that don't come in small, medium, large, but they come in size 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, etc. Now you have a larger selection or variation, and there's a larger air of consumer purchasing to buy the wrong size. And let's be honest, apparel sites like Nordstrom, Revolve, etc., they built and encouraged the habit of ordering more so that you can try different sizes or try different styles and then return, which is why Amazon even has I'm blanking on the name of it, but I think it was Prime Wardrobe or something, where you could order a bunch of apparel products, have 30 days to return it, and you keep what fits and what you like. So I think apparel can be a great category if you're selling the right type of product, where, like you said, there is that low return rate, but more so if it's staples, like the high fashion items. It can be trendy if you hit TikTok right and whatever, but like to me, that's a fast-paced game, and I like stability and I like stable businesses. And everyone's always going to need underwear. Everyone's always going to need socks. They're going to need bras. Like those are the apparel categories that actually have phenomenal businesses on Amazon.
That's an interesting point because my wife just went to a wedding about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was in Florida, and up to the wedding, she was trying to find the right outfits. And I was so she'd order 2 or 3, they'd show up, and then like the sizes were all discombobulated on the dresses. Like one would be whatever her size is, and it'd be way too small. The same size would be way too big. And so things are going back and forth and return. And I'm sitting there going, from a seller side, I'm like, oh my gosh, the return rates are just awful on this. And I saw it from her perspective too. I mean, she's trying to find the right outfits. I mean, Amazon does make that nice for the shopper, but I was thinking in my head, I was like, why can't these brands make it obvious how this fits? There's got to be a way for them to make her job shopping a lot easier. And I was like, I am not going into dresses or anything like that. Watching her on that return rate. I mean, that's a challenge, I would think, for those brands, big time.
Yes. But like I said, you can be strategic in how you approach it, right? Like, let's say you are selling dresses. There are dresses that are really attractive that are made of like stretchier material. So that's like, those are the dresses that you can sell at a small, medium, large scale versus a dress that is more structured cotton, where there's a zip up on the side where it has to be exact on the size, and you have to have the numerical sizing system instead. I think Amazon's very good with casual fashion if done correctly. And I'll fully admit, so I'm pregnant, and finding maternity clothes is not easy in rural Massachusetts. So like those niche subcategories too are great. Like I am wearing a pair of pants right now where I went into Amazon and searched, maternity dress pants, and like, where else am I going to buy them but Amazon at this point?
Let's talk about
what
yeah, congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
And you're right. But I was thinking about that. I've never ordered something for me that didn't fit on Amazon because it's simple. I buy t-shirts and shorts, and I know what I am. I know and it's consistent.
And like maybe the shorts have like the elastic or like simple waistlines.
Very casual. Easy to shop when it's very casual. Exactly.
How did you get, because like product research is always fascinating to me, like how you do product research, come up with an idea, come up with a brand name. What made you pick the apparel, the niche? Was it just, hey, we're going to try t-shirts, or was there products before that you tried in specific niches that failed? Like, how'd you come up with t-shirts?
So I came up with t-shirts. I was inspired by my husband, actually. So my husband, even though he lived in New York City for 18 years, is actually a big outdoorsman and hunter. So he does archery, and he's like Rambo in the woods, like literally face paint. And it's very important to have moisture wicking clothing, because if you have cotton, which absorbs it, the deer can smell it, and you don't want the animals to smell you when you're hunting. And sorry to my vegan beauty brand clients, but this is farm life, right? All organic meats in my house, by the way. And so he was looking for a specific type of moisture wicking undershirt that he could wear under his hunting gear that would help with that. And I just did some research. I was fortunate enough to like be living in New York City. So I had some friends in the fashion and textile industry and kind of consulted them on what are the best blends for this purpose of having an undershirt that would be versatile, where you could wear it to the gym, but you can also wear it under a tuxedo at a wedding and not totally sweat through your white tuxedo shirt. And so I did some research, and then I eventually created a list of like 20 suppliers, got their quotes, narrowed it down, ordered samples, I think from 3 to 5 different vendors, and then eventually placed that first order. And they just took off. They started selling really well. They have really high reviews because unlike a Lululemon or a Under Armour, where they're very, very, they have a lot of overhead, they have a lot of marketing costs. I was able to follow that model of more direct to consumer, therefore higher value product at a more feasible rate. And then I did test some other products too, which were fun.
Yeah. So what were some of those that failed? Like
Okay.
the categories that failed?
So the one that failed, a little backstory on it, was around the time that I started this entrepreneurial venture, right? I got a puppy. And this was in the heyday that you could actually make Instagram accounts go viral. So I created an Insta famous puppy. His name is Mr. Monster. So I built this great following. I had around like 25, maybe I think I got up to like 30,000 followers on Instagram. Okay. And then I used that as a platform to launch a line of pet toys or dog toys. And I was determined to have these like durable dog toys that still squeaked, and they were really cute and had really fun designs. But, one pit bull gets a hold of your dog toy and you get a 1-star review, and it's just no coming back.
So you had to, did you drop that line of products?
Yeah, that was a one and done order. Cause I think I had to order at least like 1,000 dog toys or whatever it was. So it was still a fun venture. And actually I did have a decent pet sweater business for a while, but that was keeping up with holidays and I wanted something more consistent. So there was like for a year where I sold dog Halloween, dog Christmas, dog Valentine sweaters. And that actually, I probably netted at least like 20 or 30 grand from that little venture.
There you go.
I mean, I'll take it.
Absolutely. I mean, it brings up an interesting point. I mean, it's similar to mine. I mean, my first product was quote unquote a home run. And then I'm like, oh, well, this is easy. I just go pick whatever I want and start selling it now. And you start realizing, not everything, works. There could be way too much competition. Dog toys is a great example. You launch a dog toy and all of a sudden there's 900 identical dog toys. The same, it gets super competitive. They're typically cheaper, so there's not not as large margins. Cost per clicks go up on ads. I mean, you start learning a lot of this, and that kind of brings up, from your perspective, both in your journey and all the clients that you're helping now. We're talking about making it less stressful. What are some of these common stress points that you're seeing, both in your journey and with clients coming in? Where are the roadblocks? What are the hurdles that people are having a difficult time overcoming?
Yeah, well, obviously the biggest stress points are things that you can't control. And with that, it's just a matter of taking a breath and handling it. And we've seen a lot of crazy things over the years. And I think where we help take the stress off our clients is just, I always like to say we don't and we can't know everything about Amazon. That's just impossible. But what we do know is how to problem solve with Amazon. And so just walking them through and setting those expectations of like, we're going to do this, this, and this. And if this doesn't work, then we'll try this. Like, here is our plan. Trust that we're going to handle it. But in terms of other areas that you can control that can sometimes bring stress is number one, inventory. If you do not do proper inventory planning and then you go out of stock and then you go back into stock and it's this roller coaster, it's so expensive. You lose relevancy. It's just a hot mess. So we put a big emphasis on not only helping with the replenishments into FBA, but my firm, we have a whole like inventory management department where we help with demand planning to make sure that we're securing the right amount of inventory for the Amazon channel. The other thing is really making clients commit to what their goal is so that there's not a wishy-washy strategy where if they really commit to wanting to gain market share and then they freak out because their margins were 5% that month, we have them that like, this is what you agreed to. You can't stress about this because like, look at what the new to brand customer rates were and look at, you know, your share of voice and some of these other metrics that are super important to track. So how we really help with the stress is we look to be extremely transparent and educate our clients and just keeping them in the know. I'm a very firm believer that communication is very, very important. And then the other thing is having data to be able to piece everything together. So my company, we actually built out our own Amazon analytics platform where we can track things like LTV, new to brand customer acquisition, repurchase rates, profitability at the brand level, at the SKU level. So we can start to tie all those pieces together to really paint the picture and help businesses feel like they're in the driver's seat and not in the back seat.
I like that middle part there where you set the expectations with the brand. Like, hey,
Mhm.
look, we're trying to get market share. And if you come at me with hey, my margin's at 5%, well, you wanted to get market share. And that's what we're trying to do here. So I like that you're very open with them at the very beginning. We see that on our end too with Dustin and I. You know, I want to increase sales using advertising. Okay. And then your spend goes up and your ACOS goes crazy, but you got more orders. They're like, well, it's like the trade-off, right? You have the trade-off. I really think that's a good, like, set the expectation at the very beginning, and here's what we're doing to go forward with it.
Yeah, and actually, one thing that we added to our tool, because we screen share it with our clients, as I know Zoe does too. We actually have our goal setters, so the goals get put into the platform and they're saved, and it shows how it's tracking.
What a great idea!
So like, there's no, oh, I didn't say that. Like, no, it's locked in. It's there.
That's a great idea.
And we're gonna look at this every single time we meet to make sure that we're aligned.
What are some of the things you're doing to launch products? I know launching products and like making a new product on Amazon is a lot more difficult than it used to be, as far as doing like the 99% off, all discount codes and search from buys and all that crazy black hat stuff. But now it seems like the tide is shifting, or it has already shifted to like TikTok, Instagram, get a following. What are you guys doing to launch products?
Yeah. So we're doing a few things. So I should disclose that most of our clients are what I call multi-channel brands, where they're already in brick and mortar or have a pretty stable D2C business. We very rarely at this point work with brands that are straight up on the ground floor. So what we do when we launch new products for brands that already have some brand recognition or brand notoriety, we're a big fan of cross-catalog selling. So we will launch DSP ads where we'll take their top seller audience and remarket the new product. If it's a relevant product, obviously there's some catalogs that that consumer may not necessarily convert. But that's one thing we're doing, is how can we leverage that existing loyal customer. Influencer marketing is a new service that we launched last July in 2021. So we do source what I call more Amazon specific influencers, where it's like the hashtag, find it on Amazon TikTok feeds. And we've had a lot of success with that. Although we have even more success with the influencer marketing, like last week during the Prime Early Access sale, where we teed up a bunch of influencers to highlight their favorite deals, aka our clients, and just drive more awareness, drive more qualified traffic to those pages. And then, we don't do any like major growth hacks in terms of giveaways or anything like that. And the issue that we sometimes run into, given the fact that we work with multi-channel brands, is discounting isn't always a lever that we can pull. We will advocate for it, but if we have a prestigious beauty brand that also sells into Sephora, who already hates that the brand's selling on Amazon, we probably can't do a promotion in that launch. So we like to align with what some of their external marketing efforts are, whether that's email marketing, whether that's their own social media presence, and then building the traffic through remarketing their existing Amazon customers to the new product, using influencer marketing, and then obviously like the standard sponsored product, sponsored brand, Vine, etc.
What are you doing to keep the influencers like warm? Because sometimes it's always like a one shot. Here you go, and you got to wait for like your next deal. Like, how do you keep them engaged, or how are you? And then another part of that is like, are you incentivizing them? Did they just get free product? What's that relationship look like with influencers?
With our influencers, there's the posting fee. And then if they're a part of the Amazon affiliate program, they can make money on the affiliate links as well. And the best way to keep it warm is like anything, speed, right? You can't engage with them and then get back to them 2 weeks later and then send them product. As soon as they commit, you send them product and you get a hard post date from that influencer. And the other thing that we're really working on as a firm is building our own Rolodex of qualified influencers. And it's that Rolodex that when it's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we're going to go to them and give them a list of all of our clients' deals and say, hey, what products do you want? What do you want to promote? That way, it's also more efficient for us than doing one-to-one campaigns. Now we can take our whole portfolio and then our whole Rolodex and like swap notes and see, what's going to mutually work out.
Are you doing anything on the product insert side of products, or like packaging? Like, reviews is another topic where, people are like, how do I get more reviews? Well, you got to sell more. How do I sell more? Like, so it's like a shift. So are you doing anything on that side to like gain reviews or gain a following or something on that end?
We used to help with the insert designs, but then when Amazon's terms and services got a little gray,
Yeah.
I'm all about limiting the liability of my firm. I would never, like to this day, I've never gotten an account suspended, and I never want to have to go down that route ever. So I play it by the books, very much so. And also as an accredited agency of Amazon, it's in my own best interest to do everything by the books too.
Yeah, the TOS is certainly gray on all of that. Yeah. I'll buy stuff all the time, and I'm like, how are they getting away with this?
My goodness. Yeah.
All kinds of stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like clearly says leave a 5-star review on the insert. Yeah. I'm like, they're selling thousands of units a month. How is it possible?
And what's so interesting now is that there are so many sellers, right? Like, aren't there like 6 million sellers now? I think that was a stat I heard somewhere. At this point, eventually a seller is going to buy that product and have that experience, and people report. Yep. It's just the risk is not worth it. We do the 1-click to review automatic follow-up. I think everyone does that. I am going to be really curious to see how the Amazon email marketing functionality plays out that they announced to Amazon Accelerate. We have a lot of clients that have pretty decent following on their storefronts already. One thing that we started doing back in early 2021 is if you go to the storefronts of most of my clients, there's like the little follow and arrow and like pointing to it. I don't think we were original in doing that. We just made sure we implemented it across the board. And that's helped with those following numbers.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's overwhelming when brands, especially coming from what you're talking about, a lot of, traditional retail brands, they've been, in retail stores for a long time. Now they're coming onto Amazon. It's a very different landscape. It's completely different. I mean, speaking directly to the customer, and then all these things, all these levers that you can pull, like following. I mean, right now, and I don't know how huge of a lift you get from a large amount of followers, but Amazon is clearly pushing it, and it's going to be, I mean, that's like, it's like free right now to gain a whole bunch of followers if you know strategies. But then it goes into like you're talking about influencer marketing, and then Amazon posts. I mean, there's so many things that you can do. Oh, what are you doing on the Amazon post front? Is that something that is a daily, weekly deal?
We do their post. We typically ask them just for like their social media content folder, and then we just replicate it. And we have, I haven't looked at the data more recently, but we definitely were seeing sales come from it. And I think the big thing about the Amazon post, especially for a while, was the defense and the offense play of it, where if you had posts and your competitors didn't, you could then get basically free impressions on their product detail pages. But so how I think of it is, at the end of the day, whether you're Amazon, Facebook, TikTok, or Google, or even Netflix and Hulu, you're competing for eyes on screens. And they're all trying to figure out the best formula to create the addiction. Like, what was the Netflix documentary? Like, what was it, the social media dilemma or something?
Yeah, social dilemma.
Social dilemma, yeah. And so like what Amazon's doing with Amazon Live, they're trying to compete with kind of the QVC, but even the LinkedIn Live, or not LinkedIn, Instagram Live and whatnot. And I think, all of these big tech companies, they just want people's attention so that they can sell product. The difference with Amazon is they're actually the retailer selling it, unlike Instagram or TikTok, where they're trying to do these shop features, but the adoption doesn't seem to be there.
Have you seen anything on the Walmart side as far as like, are your clients starting to ask you anything about like, hey, what should we do on Walmart? Or is Walmart something we should be entertaining? I know that's getting a lot of hot buzz and people are talking about it. Is that anything that big brands are worried about?
Yeah, we've done some Walmart testing. We've also done, like Instacart and Criteo advertising through Target. My thing is, it's all about, is the juice worth the squeeze at this point? Do I think that retail media is going to continue to diversify in sources? Absolutely. Like in 5 years from now, is it going to be all about just buying Amazon paid search? No. Like, what I think is going to happen, and there's obviously platforms working on it, is that paid search is eventually going to become the new programmatic, where you're setting bids, and those bid placements through a third party, obviously, because they're not all going to work with each other, is, maybe showing up on Instacart or Kroger or Walmart. Even Macy's is building their own tech platform or ad tech platform, because all of these retailers have seen that Amazon built this phenomenal business, but also, they're trying to figure out how to be price competitive with Amazon and other retailers. So even the retailers are losing money on certain sales of products. So the advertising is the way to subsidize that. Mm-hmm. And now they're all trying to figure that out. And I think there'll be some really great platforms. But once again, at the end of the day, does Macy's really have the traffic for it to be worth the time of an e-commerce manager to set up all the ads? I don't know. I think you'd have to be a really big brand for it to maybe be worth it. But, I think I've even seen people talking about TikTok ads where, yeah, it can be great, but is there scale? Same thing with influencers. It can be really impactful, but it's so manual right now that you can't go and take $1 million budget and just spend that on influencers unless you're hiring Kim Kardashian, right? Mm-hmm. And even then, do you really get the right ROI on that? Yeah.
It will be interesting. And I know just from my perspective as a consumer, I buy on Amazon. I see something anywhere and I go try to find it on Amazon. Mm-hmm. It's simple. They have all my information. I don't have to do it. It's like one click and I get it and I trust the delivery. I just feel like that's the obstacle that a lot of these, I just feel like it's going to be a challenging to have 15 marketplaces that you're going through. I can see maybe 2, seems like you would think Walmart would be the best positioned right now to actually be the competitor. But then you hear stuff like, TikTok, like they just announced their I don't even know what they announced that they're rolling out into
fulfillment.
e-commerce, into fulfillment. I mean, so it will be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a massive company getting into the space. So it is going to be interesting for sure. Let's shift a little bit. Those are issues. Obviously, those are stress points for anybody. How do I manage all of these things to help my e-commerce and my Amazon business grow? What about on the profitability side? This is, what are the levers that you can pull to, you just mentioned having those really, direct conversations with what is your goal. If your goal is to gain market share, then profitability probably has to take a back seat for a little while, to gain that market share. But what are you doing to help maximize profitability with your clients?
Yeah. So I think one of the most overlooked things when it comes to optimizing a business for profitability on Amazon is taking a look at your FBA fees. So everyone just assumes like, oh, I'll improve profitability by spending less on advertising. Well, that's not always the best thing to do. And in fact, we just did a deep dive with one of our brands where they had strict guidelines for us to lower the tacos ratio because they wanted to improve efficiency. And then we did the analysis because obviously part of it is testing and learning. And we did this test for 6 weeks. And we saw a dramatic drop in their organic ranking. And organic ranking is the name of the game also for building a profitable business. So I like to think of it in a few different buckets. So the first place I like to look when seeing if I can improve profitability for a business is we have our tool where we see profitability by individual ASIN. So I go to that tool and then I look at what the profitability is by product, what their percent of FBA fee is to list price, and products that have more than a 30% FBA fee percent to their list price. There's probably some optimization we could do there, either from a bundling perspective. I've looked at businesses where they had $10.02 products. I'm like, what are you doing? Get this below $10 so you have the 8% referral fee and you can be in the small and light program. And I just think a lot of times those optimizations often get overlooked or overshadowed by the sex appeal of advertising. And the advertising obviously is an instant gratification solution because you can pause or decrease bids immediately. But if you're looking to build long-term profitability, you need to first look at the operations. So that's one place I like to look. And then you need to make maybe some strategic decisions of, is this product going to be a loss leader or even like a low profit SKU that we use for market acquisition? But then what is our strategy to convert the loss leader consumer to some of your higher profitable products? And then maybe adjusting your ad strategy so it's not just all going to your loss leader, but you have that, what I call like retention marketing strategy with DSP and so forth to convert that customer to your like replenishment. So maybe you have a 3-pack that you're trying to sell. So that's one place. The other place, of course, is you can't neglect SEO in that strategy. And of course, I think SEO and paid search, they're brother and sister, right? They work together. But I do think it's really easy for businesses to just get caught up in the keyword strategy on paid, and they're not tracking their organic indexing. They're not tracking where are they ranking and looking at that data and leaning into it, because even though Amazon has rolled out a lot more paid placements, like it's I think it's at capacity at this point. You still need that, right? And then obviously optimizing for advertising, there are ways that you can maybe invest more in retention marketing versus new customer acquisition strategy if profitability really is your number one goal right now. And then I'm actually, it sounds almost counterintuitive, but I've really been advocating for more brand awareness marketing versus just focusing on paid search, because where the CPCs are right now, especially in categories like beauty and supplements, where, you know, the keyword turmeric is like $45 or whatever it is. It's insane that you're actually better off doing more of the audience targeting in DSP and OTT and building that brand awareness and investing in that for like a good 90 days to see what the brand lift is, and then building momentum off of that.
That's an interesting strategy where you kind of leave the high bidding keywords alone, use DSP to your advantage to kind of gain some customers and maybe new customers to brand, and then maybe bid higher on your own branded terms, or you're going to be more relevant anyway, so that people, when they type in your brand name, you're paying a cheaper cost per click to get that customer to buy again. I like that strategy. Kind of use the traffic that's already out there and get them to come back to your brand name.
Yeah, and look, like the CPMs on a lot of these audiences aren't that expensive. You know, I think people think of display as being this expensive investment. And in reality, you can, like, especially with the remarketing, like we're seeing up to $10 ROASs on some of our brands. And obviously that's more of a replenishment play. And I think like 60%, probably more like 80% of my clients have some type of replenishment component to their catalog. But yeah, I mean, I was not a fan of DSP 2 years ago, but whatever Amazon did in the last 18 months has been phenomenal, and we're seeing huge success with it.
Any way you can avoid $45.
Yeah, like it just doesn't make sense. And by the way, I don't want to discredit paid search, because you absolutely need that, and you need the paid search for your SEO strategy. We even create campaigns where we know the ACoS is going to be terrible, and we set that expectation, but we say, hey, we want to be on the first page for these keywords, so we're going to commit to a bad ACoS in this budget for these 6 weeks, and we're going to lean into it. And afterwards we can assess to see, did we see significant growth in organic ranking? If we don't, and we spent all this money, we still got a lot of impressions. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. But you got to test and learn. You can't be complacent ever on Amazon.
Yeah. And the reality is that $45 is set by the market, you know? And so somebody pays $45 to acquire a customer, and that customer buys turmeric for the next 2 years, every single month. There's a reason why they're willing to pay that. And, it's just a matter of, does it fit into your strategy? And I think a lot of people miss that part. They think, oh, Amazon's gouging us. Well, I mean, people are paying it and it's working for them. Otherwise the market would shift that price down. So do you want to play in that sandbox or not?
Right. Well, but I think what we experience, not right now, things have settled down, but say 8 months ago, it was still very, brands were still very hot with investor money. And I do think that there was flagrant spending, because I audit a lot of businesses and their Amazon accounts, and I've seen it firsthand where, someone was just really focused on top line revenue growth. And I don't know, you look at the data and you're like, this doesn't exactly make sense. But I think, Dustin, to your point, another thing that we look at when thinking about profitability for businesses too is building our media plans towards the products that have high LTV and that have high repurchase rates as well. Yeah.
I mean, LTV is something everyone should be looking at for sure. It's a huge factor in making decisions moving forward. If you're looking at that on a per unit basis, it's going to be a shocking number, probably. Look at it over the lifetime value of the customer. But yeah, I mean, there's so much in this space. There's so many levers to pull. There's so many angles to come at it. I think that's why what you offer and others offer out there is a way for brands to take a step back, let people that have been in the trenches on this handle this for them and make those decisions. Because it's really easy to just say, forget it. This isn't going to work. But to that note, I also think there's a lot of people watching right now that are very interested in all the things that you're talking about and probably would love to have a conversation with you, and let everybody know if they're interested in learning more about what you guys do. How can they get in touch with you and start a conversation?
Absolutely. So you have our website here scrolling along the bottom. So you can always visit envisionhorizons.com. But also, I'm super available and always on LinkedIn. That's my social media addiction. Forget TikTok. I'm addicted to LinkedIn. So you can always find me there, Laura Meyer. Shoot me a note and I'll most likely respond.
And you run a podcast, right?
I do. Yes. So Todd and I run a podcast called Common Mistakes, where we have founders, other agency owners, software developers, really whoever, really career professionals who share some of their mistakes. We get vulnerable and we talk about what we learned the hard way, so the listeners don't have to.
Chris and I have lots of those.
Tons.
It's why it's a whole series. We've all felt it, right?
Yes.
And even with Amazon, there's those, I remember earlier on when I was selling on Amazon, it was Prime Day 2017. I accidentally double coupon something. Those are hard lessons to learn.
Oh.
But that was back when Amazon would actually cancel orders. Now they won't.
Yes, that's true. I had a lot of those too. A coupon that got out, and all of a sudden I'm out of thousands of units of inventory. I'm like, oh no, how did this
It always seems like it happens when I'm flying or traveling or I'm at a conference.
When you can't handle it. Yeah, you can't get on it fast enough. Oh man. Well, really quick, for some funny story about Todd. I was at a conference. Chris and I were at a conference, Sell and Scale, in Las Vegas, and I'm standing in line and I'm chatting with the lady next to me, and Todd, who I had never met before, turns around and he's like, I know your voice. And I'm like, and he's like, you're the 2 Amazon sellers guy, right? And I'm like, this is bizarre. I was like, that was okay, wow, people are listening. That's awesome out there. So yeah, another strategy for any brand. Also, podcasting is free marketing. It just takes time. It's great. So
that's why you're the host. Your voice is more recognizable.
I don't know about that.
That's why.
I'll tell you what I hate listening to it.
I know. I'm with you.
By the way, that is scientifically proven. Everyone hates their voice, and it's because when you're talking, your brain gets used to hearing it from this way versus it coming at you. So when it sounds different, your voice immediately just dislikes it.
Yeah, it's not a great feeling hearing yourself talk, but well, I encourage everyone to go check you out, envisionhorizons.com. Also, check out your podcast, Common Mistakes, right? Common Mistakes?
Yeah.
Got that right?
Common Mistakes, yes.
Perfect. Well, Laura, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciated it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We will do it again. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will be back at this again tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.